Good evening, and good morning from wherever you are, and welcome to our double bill sexy finale reviews of Doctor Who, the Church on Ruby Road. Is that right?
The
The
Legend of
Empire was dead.
the Legend of Ruby.
Sunday. Sorry, there you go. It just came to me now. The Legend of Ruby Sunday and the Empire of Death. And what the hell? Okay. So, with that being said, I am very much out of the loop here. This is one of those where I kind of feel, as much as it was explained to me, I mean, I got it. Don't get me wrong. Like the whole revelations in Empire of Death was like, oh, that's pretty actually cool. But we're actually going to first talk about the Legend of Ruby Sunday, and here we go on an investigative journey to kind of see if we can decipher the Ruby's origins and the mother and find out who the mother is. And we're going to kind of CSI territory where it's like enhance this. And oh my God, we can fix things with technology. And all hell breaks loose towards the end. And it was very awesome. That being said, we'll go straight into it. So, Gary, your thoughts on the Legend of Ruby Sunday?
What an amazing episode! The atmosphere was brilliant. Like the way they set it up. Because I'm going to be generally honest with you, I didn't see it coming. A lot of people being smart. Alex are going, "Oh, I saw it coming." No, you didn't. I know a lot of people do that flavor thing that people do when things trick them. They go, "Oh, I saw it coming." No, you didn't. You just being a dickhead, right? Simon's here. Sorry.
There he is.
It's okay. We've just started, so it's all good.
Right. So anyway, but yeah, the Legend of Ruby Sunday. What an amazing episode that was! Like just the atmosphere, the flaming, the team, the setup to it all. Like Susan Triad. I did enjoy. This part did make me laugh when Susan Triad did the dance coming out and she did the Theresa May tribute flaming for the Story Comic 2019 dance. That did make me laugh quite a lot. But yeah, it was perfectly paced. I thought the performances were uniform. Mel Gibson and Shooty Gatwa got to help the goddamn pack in both of these episodes. And hey, I know Shooty hasn't really been impressed with you, Gigi, because of his.
Doesn't matter what my opinion is on Shooty. It doesn't. I'm one person.
No. I'm just saying. Here, he was how he should have been the entire season. He was serious. He was like run, and then he would be so. But he'd be like, oh, for show. The actual person is like this really conflicted guy, and he's like when they do that, it's great. And Billy Gibson's great in it. And Bonnie Langford is so good in this. It's like I'm so glad that she's gotten this because people didn't like her in the original run she was in, and this she was so good in this as well. And Caitlin Stewart and everybody was great. Like I know that Colonel Manchester accent who was there to get killed was just like was just there to be there. But saying that though, I did like the Time Voldeck stuff, and I did like that, and I loved the Boris guy. I've seen that actor before, and I did like the fact that he's on a moped with. Well, we'll go into the second episode what he has on his moped. I think, but yeah, overall, brilliant episode, and it shows you that Doctor Who can still be scary and do horror stuff well. That's what I think.
Okay, Lord Donkey.
Oh, it's always great to go back to Unit. I love that we have Unit Tower now, and as the Doctor says, we love Kate Stewart. There was a lot to like in this. I didn't see it coming either with the classic villain. I thought there was a lot of misdirection from RTD with he put out those 5 episodes. Oh, you should watch these before the finale. And one was Spearhead from Space. That was the classic episode he referenced. Not
all bullshit.
Obviously not the Pyramids of Mars. So yeah. Trying to think what else. I think I have more to say about the the second part to it. So that's all I got for now.
All right, Alexia.
If we're talking about BS from RTD, don't remember when he outright said, "Oh no, we just like the actor Susan Twist, and there's nothing behind it whatsoever." Rule one: showrunners lie, and I actually think it's rather apt that the lasting legacy of Theresa May will be that her dancing is referenced in Doctor Who. Right, yes, this episode, a word, a word I would use for it, a word that came to mind watching is cinematic. And at the time, I was like, I cannot wait to see Postparts in the cinema. And it felt like a movie. And yeah, as everyone says, the build up. And I had actually dismissed, I had heard, Susan, and it's a tech company, Sue Tech. I dismissed that. I thought, no, that's the red herring. But I think we've got to get Carol Ann Ford, because she's in her 70s. They've got to get Carol Ann Ford back to play Susan at least once. They can't not. They should have done it in the 60th, if not the 50th. And we had William Russell before he sadly passed away, the late great William Russell. So yes, would still like Susan. It was sort of on my mind that okay, but Doctor Who has a history, not always, but sometimes, of really great part ones and then disappointing part twos. And it could go either way. But well, I don't want to cheat and go straight on to the next one. Things I really loved. It just felt really exciting and epic from the very off. Even if there's still misdirection, because it's like the end of the cold open is Susan is the name of my granddaughter. Roll credits, you know. And I thought the Harbingers were scary. I don't know if it was misdirection when Carla said, "I know it. It's the Beast." Because it could just be that she's religious, or it could be a callback to the Tennant era, where it's the same voice actor, Gabriel Wolf, the 91-year-old Gabriel Wolf. And to be honest, actually, I will say that gave me chills. I actually think the effect for me was the combination of the voice acting of Gabriel Wolf in what may be his last gig, but I didn't know he was 91 until after. The voice acting of Gabriel Wolf and the Harbingers, because they're actually scary. That was more the effect for me than manifesting the god of death as it's supposed to be a jackal, but it's a giant dog. Let's face it. And yes, the CGI is impressive, and this could literally be like a Marvel movie or something. It is, and you can see how they've got a Marvel effects team and Disney money. You know, it's impressive in that way, but I think it's ultimately the voice of Gabriel Wolf that sells it. But I'm almost skipping ahead there to the next one. I'll try not to. Was there anything else, especially? Well, we're gonna do top bits and bottom bits later, aren't we? So I'll hand over the floor.
Simon.
I'd just like to apologise for being late. I have a bad back and I am full of codeine.
Oh God!
Fair enough. That sucks to hear.
As you can tell by my eyes. I watched the episode. I was actually at a Doctor Who convention last week, and I watched it with 100 drunk fans. And the atmosphere towards the cliffhanger was absolutely electric, as everybody figured out at the same time who the big bad was going to be because of the shifting wording on the screens. And it got down to Sue Tech, and it cut away on that second, and everybody went, and it was absolutely fantastic. The highlight for me was that was one of the best ever cliffhangers. That is an all-time favorite cliffhanger of Doctor Who for me, and that, and where Mel says, "Doctor, there's something wrong," and it gave me goosebumps because suddenly it was 1987 again, and I was a kid watching Mel and the Doctor on screen. Brilliant.
Yeah, so can I just ask, can we hear some sirens in the background?
Gaz's neighbor's dog. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of silliness in the Legend of Ruby Sunday. In that it kind of had like a procedural feeling to it, in terms of like the CSI element of like the video enhancement and all this kind of weird use of the technology and
the time window.
But that's great. You know what I mean? That's what you're there for, the kind of the silly aspects of it. But I think overall, like, again, Millie's performance, she is just like incredible. And although again, I'm not familiar with like the Sutekh in Doctor Who, and you know, like your Egyptian mythology and all that, you're like, oh, death. Okay, this is going to be fun. And then when that reveal comes, so what I did love though is I do love like investigation stuff. So as they were kind of breaking everything down and like more and more just craziness starts happening, and then you see the TARDIS and then all that kind of weird stuff around it, and I was just like, oh, this is interesting. What's all this kind of shit? And then it reveals like the Sutekh, and it was just like, wow, that looks really, really good. And it was just, yeah, it was good performances. The TARDIS thing anagram was just so fucking corny. It was just like, you know, but the fact that everyone else was like, yeah, we figured that out. I mean, come on. I mean, it's not difficult. So yeah, I enjoyed this episode. Not much else to say about it. I thought it was really good. Just enjoyed the kind of investigative nature of it and how things just unfolded. So with that being said, we'll go into highlights and lowlights and all that other stuff. So Gaz, we'll keep in order. Gaz, to you, what were your highlights?
Highlights was just the voice of Gabriel Wolf just coming through, going when like she's reading off the prompter, and it was almost like the Evil Dead, where like all of a sudden a different voice comes up, and you're like, what the hell's that voice? And all you hear is like, and then the time it starts making that noise, like, it's like, oh my god, what is going on? And then like that woman just starts almost speaking in tongues. She's there going, he's wise, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then all of a sudden then it's Sutekh, and then all of a sudden like, you know, the thing manifests. I'm like, it's like, I was just like, oh my god, that's fucking awesome. And then it's just like, I mean, I don't use the word perfect, but that was perfect. The atmosphere, the flaming. Because I actually got highs where like that woman started singing as well, because like Kate Lester is going, is she okay? And then I was going, no, step away from your console, and all of a sudden, and then that happens, and then so the twist turns into the thing, and then all of a sudden I just watch you shooting, going, you know, don't touch her and stuff like that. It's just, and everything just got much more urgent, and then like I just love the fact that the Doctor addresses why he's not looked for Susan earlier. It's like going, you see what I do, you know, I cause chaos and I cause death and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then Kate Stewart goes, no, I think you bring joy. It's like, it's good to see how the Doctor sees himself and how other people see him, and how those two things aren't necessarily the same thing. Like the Doctor sees himself as somebody who maybe brings death, because like wherever he goes, death seems to come, or like something that he needs to solve comes. And I'm just like, that's really powerful. And it was good to see him do that scene, because it was just superb. It's like, that's why Shooting Gatwell was very cast, because he could do that scene. And as I said, the time vortex stuff was really good. Like the mother pointed, and then when she went past Ruby and the Doctor, and the Doctor actually like has to hold Ruby, and she's like, Mom, please don't leave me. And then literally like the hurt in her voice is just like, oh my god, like for 19, she knocked out in the goddamn park.
Okay, Lord Donkey.
Yeah, we were just led through this, building of tension through the whole episode there, and then you get to Harriet, and we should have known that Harriet, someone named Harriet would be a problem, right?
Harriet Arbinger. For fuck's sake.
Yes. So, and just our experience in the way back with Harriet Jones, but
right, okay.
yeah, but no, lots of. Let's see, what was I just thinking of? It'll come back to me. It was just such a good build up, and just I think one of the favorite spots for me was they get to the time window after Kate says, "What are you talking about? You told us not to do that in the 70s. It's 10 floors down."
Mm-hmm.
And then he takes a tour of it and he just busts up laughing because at the end of the day, they've got this technology in unit, but the doctor just not impressed. So I really enjoyed that. Trying to think of anything else. I'll come back to it.
I can always come back to you, yeah. Alexia.
I think the time window was my favorite moment. I say moment because it's quite a big middle chunk of the episode, and everything it leads into as well. It's all very effective. You realize on rewatch just how quickly they get to that bit too. It's very pacey. I think I've heard some people say it's too fast paced. I don't think it is. There's just the absence of any kind of padding or lull in the tension or anything like that, I think is awesome. And something Lord Donkey said triggered, right, because yes, the doctor warns Kate that, it's kind of, I don't think he's a harbinger himself, but he is an omen. Like, if the doctor's around, run. Yeah, no, there's going to be bad guys. Even if he's just trying to take a holiday, right? There's going to be an evil plan. There's going to be bad guys. He reminded you of that fact. And sorry, but you agreed to let that member of personnel keep going. And the buck stops with you, not with the doctor.
Yeah.
And so you are in no position. For one, look at the 180 from you don't bring death, you bring joy, to blaming him. To another, how many years have you been... Actually, I've never quite understood it because she's a civilian, but she holds military command. I don't know, whatever. But they are your personnel. And in a way where last time, she did take responsibility. So this is out of character for her to try and pass the buck on to somebody else. And the doctor does take it really hard. Oh, I thought the punching the wall bit was good. I loved the way he acted that. Yes, it's not all crying. We've got him yelling into the void. We've got him punching the wall. We've got yeah. But my low point is, Kate, you don't get to blame other people if your personnel are killed.
Yeah, the look she gave him after she just told him that, I think you bring joy, but then someone died, and she gives him this look. But I don't know if she's blaming him or she's giving him a look of, you better fix this.
Yeah. Well, hang on. I don't even know if that bloke is brought back, but again, that's the next one. That's the next one.
Yeah, he was brought back.
Okay.
All right.
Everybody.
Oh my god, how many highlights? The whole episode was a damn highlight. It's one of my all-time favorite Doctor Who ones. All throughout this season, absolutely, all throughout this season, it's been almost, and then it broke through with this episode. We'll discuss next episode in a minute, obviously. One of the highlights for me, and this is a bit obscure, is that Susan Twist is played by someone who used to be in Brookside, which I used to watch when I was a kid.
Oh,
Not three major Brookside people in recent years, because Stan's parents during Jodie Whittaker era were also in Brookside. So it's lovely to see these actors back in the limelight and showing their range. Because in that, she was a traffic warden with a scratch card addiction. In this, she's like the puppet of an ancient Egyptian god. I mean, how wonderful it must be to be an actor, to be a traffic warden a few years back, and then next to be known for being an Egyptian god. Yeah, I just thought the whole of the main cast were absolutely smashing it out of the park. That, and they kept up the modern unit tradition of the red shirts being the fit ones. In the fit ones, unit soldiers always die, and they're always go first. Send the pretty ones out first, and that made me laugh. I honestly, I am in awe of Millie Gibson and Ncuti Gatwa. What actors they were absolutely chosen. What bloody good choices. And yeah, just the cliffhanger. Low points. Probably a ever so slight mismatch. Like the whole mother thing feels a bit shoehorned in, because I know the doctor thinks that the mother's got something to do with it, but it felt like a bit of a maybe needed a bit more meshing. But apart from that, that's quibbling. I can't fault it. No, it's all good.
All right. Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, highlight for me was just the whole investigative part where they're trying to like break it down. That reveal at the end was great. Just kind of the effects of that just blew me away. What's just quick question, like the neighbor lady who kind of goes weird when she's looking after the grandma. Why was that again? Huh?
Mrs. Flood.
Yeah. Mrs. Flood. Why did she? How did she know about what was going on?
We don't know yet. And I met Anita Dobson on the weekend, and she said that she's going to be around for a little while yet.
Oh right, well, she'll definitely be in the Christmas.
Oh yeah, but then showed up right at the end of the final episode. So
a teaser for a Christmas episode.
Yes. But yeah, I thought it was it was a fun ride. The only thing that I think that kind of bugs me with Ncuti is like the bubbliness just feels too American to me. It just feels out of place. It doesn't feel like the kind of Britishness of it. It really grates on me for some reason. This is why I can't praise him too much. But when he gets the emotional parts right, even though it's a bit too fucking emotional for me, he gets it right. But the other stuff, it just feels so out of place. But then if you watch Sex Education, that whole show feels out of place. So continuity, why not? But that's just me nitpicking, and it's nothing against Ncuti. Like I said, as an actor, he's wonderful. But yeah, that was kind of my highlights. Lowlights, not many in this episode. Like the silly aspects of it were cool, and that's it really. We can go into ratings, or if anything else want to talk about this, or just want to jump straight to the last episode where the kind of meat and potatoes of it is.
I reckon we should score this episode personally.
Yeah, okay, we'll score this one. Gaz, I'll go to you.
For me, it's a 10. Just an amazing episode.
Okay. Donkey?
Let me see. Not going quite 10. I'll give it a 9. I really enjoyed it. It had some good payoffs. It had some questions still left open. I give it a 9.
All right. Alexia?
Right, this is tricky. I normally do count two-parters as one. I also think that even if you like or dare I say love a part one originally, I think I saw it 3 times. What you think of part 2 does retroactively change what you think of part 1. So it would have been a 10 if you'd asked. Well, I do. If we'd done the show like we normally do, I guess I would be giving it a 9 or a 10. But I think I've got to downgrade it, which gives some clue as to what I thought of Empire of Death. So I don't know. I'll be generous and say no. Well, not generous. I'll call it a 7 because I've had to knock a couple of points off.
Okay, no problem. Simon?
This episode standalone 10, 10, 10, 10, 10.
Okay. I'm going to go as a standalone. I'll give this probably an 8. I enjoyed like most aspects of it. A couple of little nitpicks. Vance will give this one an 8. The finale. No, we're not doing the finale yet. You've jumped ahead, you muppet. Just this episode. All right. Anyway, so that's that. And we can skip straight to Empire of Death, which... okay. So, Empire of Death, we obviously have now Sutekh coming in, and death sweeps the universe. But the reveals of Sutekh and how he is and what he's been doing absolutely blew my nuts off. Like, I love this shit. I was just like, this is awesome, because this could happen anytime in any place. And I thought we were going to get more of the kind of the toy maker stuff, but we went down this kind of direction. I don't know if they're connected. Is Death connected to the toy maker at all? Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we did go down the toy maker route. Sorry, my bad. But that voice was the highlight again. That just the look, the way it hugged the TARDIS, and just up until a point, it was great. And then after that, it was just like, oh, just end, for the love of God, just end. This is so corny. This belongs in like primetime American fucking TV, that kind of stuff. And so it was great to begin, and then it just kind of like needed to end at a certain point. But that being said, I still enjoyed it overall. Gaz?
There's so much that's really, really good. And I disagree with Alexia, because like this episode I thought was amazing. Like, for example, the title alone, Empire of Death. What an amazing title that is, just on its own. And I love, like, I know it's a little bit endgamey. It's not endgamey. It's Ultimate Warfare gaming, where Infinity War, where he does the dust. But I thought the dust was so like, it was a little bit American-y, the way it just like went in between buildings and stuff like that. But I just like the fact that there's no way to combat this. Everyone dies, and I thought that was amazing. And I just love the bit where Kate Bridget Stewart just basically embraces it, goes, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to sign off, and he realizes what that means. When goes, just go somewhere else, and says, it's been an honor serving with you. I'm just like, I got chills, like seeing flaming Gemma Redgrave deliver that. I mean, she's a great actress anyway, but she knocked that face out of the park. So that was great. I loved the part when he's in space and basically, and he sees the cloud, the dust basically sweeping the earth, almost like it was almost like a biblical plague, so almost like the way he did it, and then like says, and then like he probably like screams into the ether, he goes, every bit I've killed it, and he goes, ah, and he does this proper scream. No, it could have been really campy, but it wasn't. It's this like scream of agony and like. I just love the fact that he lets the fact that he's the one who's caused death on these planets, because of everywhere he's been, Sutekh has planted one of his cronies, Susan Twist, everywhere, and basically they're killing everybody. Everywhere he's been, he's dying because of the fact that he went there.
Yeah,
that has got to be such a monumental thing, and. The best scene in this, I know people have poo-pooed it. I don't. That is because people are stupid, right? The best scene in this is when he goes to that planet with the woman. He says, "I remember having a son." Blah blah blah. He says, It says what happened. It says he was taken away, and you just remember that's how sadistic Sutekh is. What a piece of shit he is! Like he's basically torturing her by having everybody you love, her husband, her child, be taken away, and then she's last, and then her last thing was to give the doctor the flaming spoon, which is the one that. So I just love this to pieces. If I was to do negatives, I know we do this later, but if I was to do negatives, the whole thing with the mother, I know people going, I compare it to Last Jedi and stuff like that. Those people could get to fuck, as far as I'm concerned, right? But I thought that was great that the Doctor used his intelligence to say, well, things only become value because we value with value, like money, for example, only has value because we view it with such, or things have value because we view it, like food has value because we view it with such, you know, like. Oil has value because we value such. You know, these things don't have intrinsic value. We give them value. So I love that idea. And I love the fact that Ruby is special because of who she is, not because of where she comes from. I always love stuff like that. And Billy Gibson and she got knock it out of the park again. And Gabriel Wolf's voice. My God, well, that's very terrifying. Just like that guy could read porn and it'd be all right. You know? So anyway, I'll let someone else go. I think that's the end point. Yeah.
Yeah, little donkey.
You're gonna go to me right after that one. I love how all the bad parts are the Americanized parts. It's totally true. It's the mouse, and you know, the extra money comes with a price of making it simple for our simple American audience. But no, it's there's a lot of really cool moments here, like all the space scenes where, like anytime the TARDIS is just in the void. Or especially like when they lift off and in the memory TARDIS, which I really loved, and I made a list of all the Easter eggs I could catch out of that part. So if we want to go to that later on, yeah,
I have that in mind for you guys to come back to that.
All right.
I don't have a list or anything. I just want to see what you guys do, and then I'll have a look at it.
I started on my second watch through. I started writing down all of the little Easter eggs that they snuck into that memory TARDIS. So, yeah, when they're just in space and he's just hanging out of the TARDIS and he's got his feet dangling in space, that reminded me of 11 when they first start. And he's like, "Oh yeah, there's a bubble outside the TARDIS. You're fine." And we find, oh, it's 73 yards is the bubble, and so, let's see.
There's so much. He's got a list. You see?
No, I'm just looking through stuff I jotted down. As far as negatives, I was a little underwhelmed by the mother reveal. It was kind of a bait and switch to me that you built up this mystery the whole season. And it turns out to be nothing, but I'm sure we'll get more to that later. I did really like the Susan twist. So that Sutekh has just been planting this person everywhere the Doctor's landed since the Pyramids of Mars. I saw we're going to continue to see great little snippets of like, oh, here's something since that episode. And now insert Sutekh because he was also there. Like the most obvious one is, did Sutekh just move over to make space for Captain Jack when he jumped onto the side of the TARDIS? Like he just stepped aside a little bit, or when the Doctor and Rogue were kissing, was he just like looking like, hey, what's happening? Sutekh just eating popcorn while the Doctor's just been through everything.
He could have just narrated it. Well, it's essential, guys. You know?
Like, the best one I saw was from the 50th. You got the 3 TARDISes all in a row there at the very end, and Sutek's just like, like, what are you doing here?
Which one's
Yeah,
right?
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I look forward to more analysis on that of inserting Sutek to every bit of Doctor Who since the 70s, because not all of it can make sense, right? So it'll be fun to see the parts that really stand out and don't make sense. But that's enough for me.
All right, Alexia.
Right. I may have been slightly sour because the week of the finale had to be the week that I've been ill, and I still am. And there seems to be an epidemic because Dr. Simon is ill, one of the YouTube reviewers is ill, and it's like, okay, am I gonna drag myself out to the cinema because I bought my ticket weeks ago, and I really I've been looking forward to it. And then it was like, oh, the trains aren't running, and I was too out of it to check. And then apparently they don't do buses that late here. I'm from London originally. I've still got the London mindset of you can just go anywhere. Yeah, go anywhere, anytime. And then it's like, okay, well, I've tried. I'm a bit disheartened and disappointed, but at least I tried. I made it home, and by the time we got to the end of part 2, I'm bearing in mind it is 1 a.m. at this point. I thought, I'm so glad that I wasn't in the cinema because I'd have left in a bad mood.
Yeah, fair
I
enough.
did enjoy it on first viewing versus second viewing. So I do the Friday one and Saturday one. First viewing, beyond a strong opening, I found it underwhelming and disappointing. And they did cheat. That's a fact. Like, we still don't know why she can make it snow. We still, and like, Gaz does not look happy, but I'm going to get to my second viewing thoughts. Right. On the second viewing, other than it felt shorter, which is often true with these things, because I had thought the middle dragged. I thought you already re-released Pyramids of Mars. Why are you where they're basically watching Pyramids of Mars? So why are you showing us? And what will a lot of this mean to the new audience you're trying to attract? And then, and then the ending, that epilogue, which is like 10, 15, 20 minutes. It's just like, I kind of, because I did actually like the Sutex bits, but he was once again defeated too easily. As great as some of it was, does anybody spot the Nietzsche reference? Because you've got both him screaming into the void, and you've got the whole thing of I've battled with monsters, now I have to become a monster.
Of me.
But anyway, second viewing, I found myself tearing up. I didn't cry literal tears, but I just I felt invested in the emotionality the second time around.
Bring him back when he comes back. Don't worry, I'll bring him back when he comes back.
Have I upset him?
No. I think just going to Waz.
Oh, okay. I got into the emotion the second time around, and I have seen comments by people for whom their lived experience is very similar to Ruby's lived experience, and actually they're not the only ones who says that they cried, and some people found it very emotional. So it is just me. And what do I know about what young new audiences are going to like? Because apparently they watched Space Babies and they still watched The Devil's Cord. So so I may be very, very wrong about what young new audiences. So I am less harsh on the episode after the second viewing. I haven't properly watched both parts together, which I will be doing when I do my next quiz for the group, that'll be when we hit 10K, which we are racing towards. I think the group is still growing, so the show's clearly
really quick. I had to leave because they were spoiling things, but I'll come back now that it's.
Oh right, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I do try to. Well, I could add you to the team if you want. We do. The thing is, that's the trouble.
I don't want to be admin. It's all right.
Yeah. The thing is, we do keep track of these things. The opening weekend should have been safe. Well, there might be one or two things.
I left before that as a preemptive.
Oh no, we really do manage spoilers. That's we are the spoiler. Yeah, we're the
I do that with other groups. It's nothing personal.
Yeah. Okay. Just so you know in future that we're the most vigilant to the point where people who don't care about, don't want to be considerate, get angry and leave. So anyway, so I won't be as harsh. I think it's a question of how invested you are in the characters. You know, it would have meant more if we'd had longer with the character of Ruby Sunday, but ultimately it's an 8 or 9 part season. It's not 13 episodes like back in the day.
Yeah, which probably to its detriment, given the payoff. I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll move on to Simon because I don't want to go too long.
I think it was the most Doctor Who thing. Doctor Who does this thing where it takes something usual, twists it, and the solution being taking the dog for a walk on a lead through the time vortex. The Doctor Who thing ever. I thought that was just hilarious once I figured out what they were doing, because I let it wash over me. I'm a fan for decades and I pick it apart and I do crosswords every week based on it. I still let it wash over me like an idiot, and it's great hangover telly, is brilliant. But taking the dog for a walk through the time vortex to destroy it is just genius. I thought it lost a fraction of momentum, but after the build up, it was bound to. Again, Bobby Langford was absolutely superb, and putting out there prime time an older actress is absolutely fantastic, because it's not just looking after the younger folk, it's looking after the older folk. And I say, not like she's geriatric or anything, but just like showcasing what they can do and making them as important. Putting her through the ringer as well. The whole thing in the memory TARDIS with her seeing the Sixth Doctor's cravat and the Seventh Doctor's jumper, absolutely amazing. And then referencing Time and the Rani, which is so dissed, but I love it. If you've never seen it, it's Kate O'Mara, big camp extravaganza. It was brilliant. Total hokey fun. No, I just really liked it. The whole thing with Ruby and the mother being ordinary. At first I was like, oh, is that it? I thought she was going to be a goddess. But then I thought, you know what? That's just me feeding off everybody on the internet and all their theories. And actually the fault probably lies with me in that. And then I watched it again, and like you, Alexia, I watched it again, and it was so much better on the second one once I processed it. Then you pick up all the little Easter eggs and all the little threads, and actually it makes a hell of a lot more sense, because what you're saying to the audience is that everybody is important, and you don't need to be a big space-time event in order to be important. So yeah, I really liked it. It lost a little momentum, but apart from that, I thought it was great.
Okay.
All right.
I'm just gonna I'll come back to me. So I agree with, like, it lost its momentum once they kind of got out there into the thing. I loved that TARDIS of memories. So I want to talk a bit about that. So how did that manifest itself again? How did it kind of function? Barely function.
Because time and memory are very close together, because that's how we. Well, now time travel, because the stronger remember something, the stronger it is. Like, and that's the whole thing. That's how it manifests. Is that Ruby remembers it? I mean, And that's such a powerful scene, like when she's doing it and she's like, probably remember it, and it comes back and you see Mel like stringing parts and like holding different parts that she remembers, and like, and again, I do agree with what Simon said about like Bonnie Langford. I mean, like her reaction to it is just like she got such a bloody hard time when she was actual companion, but now she's just it's just like. It's just great to see her back because she's such an underrated actress.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's how it kept snowing, right? Because Ruby was remembering the data or when she was born in the snow, and she was in that time window, so that's how it traveled back, I guess.
Yeah. And the memory TARDIS is from Tales of the TARDIS. Has anyone seen that? It's a mini spin-off, and what they do is it's on the iPlayer, and they top and tail it with companions of the time, with whatever classic story they're showing, like Curse of Fenric with Sylvester and Sophie. And it's not explained all the way through this little mini spin-off series, but the last one released to bookend Pyramids of Mars was Ncuti and Millie discussing the Sirens. And it's just this scene, and then they put the scene really cleverly into the main show. So what you don't realize at the time is that Mel's behind the camera, like falling asleep, and Mel's there all the time. That blew my mind. It's like, oh,
that was a good twist.
There's a missing scene from the main show before the main show. You know, and I just love the memory TARDIS because you don't know where you don't know where to rest your eyes because there's so many bits. So that's that bit from
yeah.
I rewound it so many times.
Yeah.
So, so another thing. Okay, firstly, let's talk about Morris's guns on his scooter. I mean, that was just fucking outstanding.
Amazing.
That was just, yes.
Everyone's armed.
Laser the shit out of it. This thing, but then he got the scooter with the guns. I was like, they better make a toy of that, otherwise I'm going to riot. That was, I loved it.
Morris on the scooter with the guns. Yes, they do need to be.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. But so on the snow thing, so because did that get solved? Did you just solve it there, Simon? I can't remember with how she was able to kind of make it snow everywhere. Did we get an answer to that?
Did.
I think it was the time window. Because when she remembered the snow at the end of Legend of Ruby Sunday, it started snowing, and that maybe fed backwards in time or something. I don't know.
Right.
The whole time that she was traveling with the Doctor, she was somehow connected to that time window.
Right. Okay.
Something wibbly wobbly like that.
Yeah. Now, in terms of obviously with the mother, there was no great mystery payoff. And all of that, which that's fine. They Last Jedi did. I was actually expecting that. I was like, I know they're going to do this. It's too commonplace. It'd actually been better if it was something more. But what I did like is Ncuti's speech regarding that, about how we put so much importance into, like, you know, we give greater importance to just ordinary things or ordinary people and all this kind of stuff. And that always reminds me of like Churchill, because it's like everyone remembers Churchill as this brilliant, like, war, like, you know, prime minister who got us through the war and all this kind of shit. But it's like, actually, he was a cunt. He was a human being who caused the civil war in Greece at the end of the Second World War. And I loathe him with every single fiber of my being, but he's revered because of people's memories of the war and just that specific moment. And I thought the deliverance of that speech was the better payoff to what the mother was. And I think that speech holds more memories and more true to whatever the mother could have been. And at the end of the day, what the mother was still a tragedy. A 15-year-old got pregnant by another 15-year-old, and it was a horrible situation, and she thought just give up the kid would be the best option. I mean, you know, those kind of stories are a dime a dozen. They're going to be more relatable to say if she's some kind of space god with a magic vagina that gave birth to, like, the next you know, Queen of Time or some
Mary?
shit like that. I don't know, you know. Maybe I don't know. That could have been a better payoff, but relatability with the audience, there is that, and like how out of tragedy they still managed to make something out of their life, and even if that life is just a nurse, which I mean, if you just say just a nurse, it's ridiculous because nurses are fucking priceless. So, and you know, saves lives, you know, this kind of stuff. So there's that aspect to it. So I thought that payoff was better. I thought the speech was better. But yeah, that's okay. Anything else anyone wants to pick apart before we talk about highs and lows? Talk about the memory TARDIS, all that. Just go nuts for this last one.
Can I just say about the spookiness of VHS?
Oh yeah,
because it is. I know it picks up on the Ring vibe and everything, but I've always thought growing up, and there's that kind of haziness, and if you've ever seen white noise. And it's a bit like that, and like the way things shift. And I just thought that is such a good trope, going back to old technology. And something you said, Lord Donkey, about all the memes coming out about Sutekh. There was a really brilliant one. There's a bit in Silver Nemesis, which is a McCoy episode, where Lady Painful shoots an arrow at the TARDIS, and it goes in the door. And the caption was, "It just shot Sutekh in the arse." That was the best one. That's all I needed to say.
Okay. But yeah, as I said, the whole, as I said, the thing is that like just to see the whole makeup, you know, the whole like school makeup and stuff like that, it should look like a little bit zombie-esque, but it doesn't. It's kind of like disturbing, just like. Just see that the skull outline and like the cheekbones and stuff like that. It's like proper, like, you know, horror movie stuff, and then that was really good. The ride through the vortex was a little bit okay. You lose me a little bit here. That's a little bit that lost me because like this guy, this god has been on the back of the flaming TARDIS for nearly 50 years. And you're telling me that just one trip through it without being on the TARDIS is going to kill him? I'm sorry, I find that very difficult to believe. Yeah, and that's where it kind of started losing me. I mean, I know it's the American endings just to go, you know, the whole thing from the NBA channel, you know, just as was, everybody lives, and not only everybody lives, but everybody comes back to living. Yeah, and by the way,
we run death through death and bring back life. No, that
as
doesn't
soon as
really
Kate
work.
got dusted, it was like there's no consequences now. They're going to turn this around.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that the kind of frustrating part is we ended with a resolution, and we shouldn't have. Like I think it should have been a chase through time to get away once they kind of find out who the mother is, and then it's just like we should have ended on a cliffhanger. Not with like everything resolved and everything's hunky dory and big white nuclear family mix thingy crap, whatever, I don't know. And it was just like, the payoff. It was really frustrating that they did that, and it was every fucking Disney show that you watch, the Marvel stuff, the Star Wars stuff, whatever. You get to the final episode, and it's just like rush. And massive epilogue afterward, and it's just like, oh, we're here again. And I found that frustrating because all the Sutekh stuff, you know, all that kind of all that aspects of it. I wanted more of that. I wanted more of a build. I wanted to see maybe other key players come into it and to try and do something, or just something a bit more. So it was like the first half was great, then the other half just lacked that payoff, but there was like a few nuggets in there that were decent. And of course, we also got the Tick reference because we had Spoon saved the day.
It reminded me of when Capaldi had the spoon with Robin Hood.
Yes,
when Capaldi had the spoon with Robin Hood.
Yeah.
I never watched those ones, but yeah, there we go.
He was fighting Robin Hood with a spoon. He was parrying the sword with the spoon. That's what it was.
I used the weapon of a spoon. Yes, I remember that one.
Yeah. I was thinking of played the spoons. So if there'd been
Yes.
two, could have had Sylvester McCoy playing it.
There is
Yeah.
that, and there's also
Oh,
yes, a bit weird that there were no spoons in the memory TARDIS, but okay. And there was a fourth Doctor reference as well, isn't there?
Yes.
His scarf. Yep.
No, I mean the fourth Doctor did something with a spoon once. Is it in the
I
Keep
don't mean the memory TARDIS.
He had a gelato.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
He did
I
like
think Gelato was an alien, wasn't it?
So cool. Okay.
Jelly monsters, yes.
So we get to the end and we have forgot her name again, the neighbor lady.
Oh, Mrs. Flood.
Mrs. Flood, all dressed in white. Where she talks about, the Doctor's life just like it ends in tragedy. Who wants to break that down for me? Because what?
Why did they leave this as a mystery?
Hang on, we'll go with Donkey.
Sorry.
Oh, I just say why did I feel like they didn't give us the payoff with the mother quite as much as I would have liked, although nothing would have made everyone happy, so whatever. But with Mrs. Flood, it's like they kept that a mystery, and I feel like that we deserve to know.
Well, I'm glad we've kept something a mystery because everything else got paid off. So we've got something moving forward. Because if everything got resolved, it'd be like, okay, now you just got to rebuild everything from the start and start planting Easter eggs. And before you know it, the whole bloody series is over again. So I'm glad we at least got that. Gaz.
Yeah, like I thought it was tremendous because she could be involved in this whole, it ends in terror and stuff like that. I was just like, okay, that kind of gave me highs. As because Duff says pulled that off so great. I mean, if she turns out to be Durrani or something like that, I'm 100% on board.
Okay.
The first her delivery, where she says it's going to end in terror, and then goes like that. Me and my dad, I watched it with my dad on the second viewing, and we both burst out laughing. It was her delivery was spot on. She was giving me massive Missy vibes. So she's the new Missy. I will be over the moon. Somebody on the internet has pointed out that her grey sweater with the white collar was cosplaying Clara, and this in the snow outfit was cosplaying the first Romana from back in the 70s. So she's cosplaying companions. So what does that mean?
Oh, future Doctor.
People think that she could be Susan. That's been one. But as I said, I
got it. I got it. It's Super Gran. That's who it is. Super Gran. There you go. There you go. If you don't know what Super Gran was, Lord Donkey, she was a Scottish superhero nan who powered up eating mashed potatoes. She was absolutely super.
And she's only
it was our Superman.
So much better than a sailor who eats spinach for superpowers.
Yeah, it was like that. She was our Superman. Yeah. She only passed away last year. She was had a good innings. She was a night.
Yeah, she's about 100, wasn't she? Thereabouts.
Yeah. She done really well. But that's who Mrs. Flood is. There you go.
So, go and have a look on YouTube. You'll love it. It's balmy.
Yeah, just go watch it, Donkey. You'll love it.
Okay.
Alexia, your kind of thoughts on Mrs. Flood?
Yes, definitely Missy vibes. I don't know if that's the thing I'd most like. I still think if we see Susan, it should be Carol Ann Ford. It wouldn't surprise me if we see that at Christmas, because they've mentioned Susan so many times. And I think Carol Ann Ford did imply a while back that she'd done something. But there might be, I think there are going to be more tales of the TARDIS, so she might be one of those. Could be both. That would make sense. Well, it is Moffat writing the Christmas special, of course.
Oh, thank God. Should be good.
And I don't know, maybe they couldn't get Michelle Gomez, but Moffat doesn't want to do another version of The Master, so it is in fact, Missy. And we will see. I mean, that'll be fun. And actually, the first Christmas special, not by the incumbent showrunner. Yeah. But yeah. And it has been what 6 or 7 years since Moffat left. So like with Russell T Davies, you know you might have got sick of them. You've had a break from them. They've changed. And after on the strength of Boom. So yes, I'm now thinking I'd like it if it were Missy. But let's face it, we have until Christmas, and I think I personally, I'm taking a bit of a break from all the speculation and blah blah blah, because although it's been an intense time in the fandom, even though it's been a short season. But okay, I'll put my money on Missy.
All right. Okay, with that being said, we'll go into final ratings and we'll go into discussion after the fact about the whole of this season in general or series in general.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Gaz, your marks for this episode.
Out of 10, I'll give it I'm going to give it a 9. Because I was going to give it an 8, but I'll give it a 9 because if it wasn't for the American shit, this would go the 10. I'm sorry, Lord Donkey. But like, if it wasn't for the American shit, this would give them a 10. But like that stuff just drug it down. Like, but seeing Sutek's like plan and the sort of sadistic man he was, but seeing everything just getting the happy ending, yeah, everything's happy. It's just like no. There should be repercussions from this shit. And that's what I wanted. I wanted repercussions of this shit. I wanted like Blit level of they have to deal with certain people not coming back from the dead. I'd rather have seen that. But saying that though, this was really good. Great performances. Gabriel Wolf knocked it out for 91 you said? And just I want to see more. There you go.
All right, Donkey.
I'll do a 9 also. I kind of agree with Alexia from before where I can't not look at the two-parter as one thing. So it did kind of feel like, happy-go-lucky ending as though it was a series finale rather than a season finale, and they were tying a lot of stuff off. I don't know. I think this has been a problem since the first 60th special with Russell, where we've got real simple endings. Think of when with the last episode there with the giggle, it was just a game of catch. So I think some of the resolutions to the villains here are a bit simplified, and maybe that's for the American audience now, and I apologize. Hopefully they get this feedback and make it a little more interesting next season and give us something interesting with Mrs. Flood. So, yeah.
Okay.
I'll give this 9.
Well, please don't hate me, Gaz. But even my revised and kinder rating is 5 out of 10.
Okay, Simon.
A solid 9. It was going to be 8 on the second viewing. I loved it so much more, and I think this will stand the test of time as a two-parter. So a 9. The point deducted just for a slight loss of momentum.
Okay. Well, I too am going to be quite harsh on this episode because there's no reason for that kind of just downturn in momentum and that annoying finale. So I'm just going to give it a 5 because the first half was great. The second half pissed me off, quite frankly. So I've got to go 5 out of 10 for this episode. Don't ever finish a show with so much hanging on it and conclude it that easily and that simplified. It really pisses me off. I hate it when they do it, with any show. So it's not just a Doctor Who thing. It's just a general thing. I prefer cliffhangers. Everything should end in a cliffhanger. But with that being said as well, is Millie coming back? Is because
She is.
she's gone.
Yeah, she is.
She's coming back because I thought she was signed up for one more
Yeah.
series and then she's off, right? Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll see how she comes back into it. I mean, time is irrelevant. You can come
I
back
think
whenever.
they'll have two
So-
companions. I think you can have two companions.
Yeah. Because Bill Gibson's talked about the fact there's going to be two companions.
Oh, okay.
The problem is that I reckon that Bill Gibson in about 6 months will be in, like, movies and stuff like that, just because like of how good she is.
She's already in. She's already getting like roles in films and that. If you look at IMDb, so that she's just gonna go stratospheric.
The new companion is the female
soldier.
Boom, yeah. I think.
Yeah. So we already got a glimpse of her in episode 3, was it? With the mine one, and so we'll see how they kind of come into it. So moving forward, what do you guys think is? Wait, was that it? Or did we do that already? I've lost my trail of
We're
thought.
talking about.
I'll tell you
We're going to go.
why don't we just talk about the whole the series as a whole? So I just want to quickly say the return of Russell T Davies was a little bit underwhelming compared to his first run overall. I found that he's also kind of gone down that irritating Twitter rabbit hole of trying to basically not pander to that audience, react to it. Like, it's very reactionary to a lot of things that are kind of happening online and all of that. It was, and less on the nose in some areas. But that being said, I mean, overall, I really enjoyed like a lot of aspects of this series. I mean, the 73 yards and the Devil's Cord and things like that were just great. When it did the camp stuff, it did great, but ultimately some of the payoff stuff just wasn't there. And again, on the 60th anniversary with like playing catch and all this kind of stuff, I have to agree with that. For the next coming series, I want it to get. Doctor Who is best when it does horror elements, and it needs to go a little bit more like darker, slowed down, atmospheric, and they keep missing the ball with that from the stuff that I've been. But I feel like that's where it needs to go down. It needs to go down that kind of horror pacing element of it. That would bring in a lot more younger audiences, because this is why horror films to this day are one of the most their largest audience are young people who watch horror films in the cinema, and that's how you bring them in. You don't bring it in by being all soft, lovey-dovey and all this kind of stuff. You bring them in by scaring the shit out of them, and trust me, that'll bring people in. There's reasons why shows like You and all these kind of Mindhunter and all this kind of shit has such a young audience, because people are like scared shitless. And they love that kind of stuff. So I think
you remember the adrenaline, don't you? You remember that heightened emotion, and it imprints on the brain.
Exactly. There's none of that here, and there's none of that in a lot of like, in most Disney shows. You know, you look at things that you remember. What do you remember? Like when you look at, say, the MCU, you remember Infinity War. You remember that ending where everyone just gets wiped out. You remember those moments. You remember the on your left, you know, these kind of bits that kind of stick out, the kind of, but you remember like having the shit scared out of you when you was a kid and you watched these kind of horror films like Freddy Krueger and all this kind of stuff. And I think that's where Doctor Who really needs to go, personally speaking. Gaz, your final thoughts and opinions?
So I thought that there was horror elements in this, like, for example, the social commentary with 73 yards, the things with Dot and Bubble, where like we had the happy-go-lucky, you know.
That's what I mean. They did that part well, but that's what it needs to be.
Right, like, you mean all the way through? You mean?
Yeah. Going forward, it needs more like that.
Yeah. But there was enough horror in this that makes you feel. If you just, and I think you do have a point. The happy-go-lucky tone was a little bit jarring to the other stuff when they were because if I was to say which parts I thought was done earlier, it'd probably be the stuff where it was that where she wasn't really centered in the role. But I think the later ones where he was more centered in the role, you see that like he was like that, and that's what I want to see. I want to see more her episodes. I want to see the Sea Devils come back. I want to see the flaming. I want to see the All-Sons come back. I want to see proper scary Daleks again. I want to see I want to see the Master flaming. If it's actually Dewad, bring him back. And the thing is that they can bring some. I know that a lot of planets have come back. They can do a lot of that. The only thing that might be a bit is to bring the Time Lords back. I'm like, do you know what? They can stay dead as far as I'm concerned. But apart from that, that's what I want to see. And I want Shooty to pick a tone and not do that whole campy thing. Do the tone that he did in the last 2 episodes. Do that performance. If he does that, he'll win a BAFTA like Flaming Tennant did.
Yeah. I just want to interject here and just this is what annoyed me. This is why I don't like Shooty as a Doctor, because he's all over the place. We had a serious moment where things are dying and he's jumping in times and hey, he's trying to go forward. It's like, pick a fucking tone, mate. You know what I mean? It's so frustrating. When you know about good writing instruction, you see this kind of tone all over the place. It's like, no. So I really, this is what frustrates me with Shooty's performance as a Doctor, and it's not really his fault. This is what they're telling him to go with, to kind of, simplify the emotions, and it's just like, stop that, just no. So I just had to get that in there because that's what I found frustrating. Donkey, your final thoughts?
Right, we don't need to be afraid of complex emotions. We've been there before with Doctor Who. The mouse can deal with it.
Yeah. Well, they did WandaVision really well in its complex emotions, so they could do it.
That's right. Yeah, we need the tone of WandaVision for the next season because they can go anywhere with the next season. They've got Mrs. Flood, and they can have some mystery around that, some kind of time lady element there. That'll be interesting. But they can really go anywhere with the next season, and I think I've mentioned it before. Introduce us to some new villains. Of course, at some point we got to bring back the Cybermen and the Daleks and all of them. Eventually, they gotta touch on them. Eventually,
yeah.
Like when he's going through all the planets that are dying. I was touched how sad he was that the Ood sphere was dying. But he mentioned Scar. I was like, the Daleks are dead. Everything's dead. But I keep going back to we need brand new legendary villains like the Angels. That was all Moffat, right? That was his episode, Blink. So you can introduce something brand new like that, and it'll just become part of the classic villains quickly.
Sorry. I was going to say, they need to bring that guy who was the worst Prime Minister and win PS. What was the preferred over his name was? Robert.
From 73 Yards.
Roger
Atwood.
Apquillum.
Yeah, Apquillum. Yeah. They need to bring him in as a villain. Bring him in.
They need to address that. He said he landed there.
It could be like the Minister, like foreign affairs ministers, and having parody Boris Johnson's tenure as it. That would be epic.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, sorry, just quickly here, because when I'm just dealing with storytelling as a whole, and one of the worst traits that happening in today's cinema is the constant fan service and harking back to the past. I think this is fine for this one when you're reintroducing people in, so they're going to get a feel of all that. But moving forward, you've got to let that part go unless it's relevant to a story. And I'm 100% with you on this, Donkey. You got to get in new legendary villains. You can't if you keep going back to the past, there's going to be nothing left. It's a bit like with Star Wars, where you're stuck around the Skywalker saga. There's nothing left. What are you going to do next? How the Empire of Blue Milk was
get me
born.
started on Star Wars.
Like that, Yeah, So you've got to just not be afraid to move beyond that and just slap your dick into a new fucking era and just forget. I know it's ironic saying this about Doctor Who, but forget the past, move forward, kind of thing. But sorry, back to you, Donkey.
I don't even know where to go from there. Yeah, new villains. What else? Yeah, and just that darker tone, that the horror elements someone mentioned earlier. Let's bring some of that in. I get that this was kind of a let's introduce larger audience to Doctor Who, but let's not just do that and then have one more season like, oh, this isn't working, we're gonna stop. Because I don't know, the review bombing that's happening with this one, it's
yeah, I mean, I
know they already filmed season 2, but what about the next one?
the thing is as well, like the way things are now, it's just like there's a massive culture war going on, a pointless one. But I can understand the genuine frustrations people would have with elements of the writing or things like that come from like Spaceman, who wrote, he just didn't find it interesting, he found it boring and things like that, and he's like a massive Doctor Who fan. So I get where the genuine criticism, but there's those that are just going to hate for the sake of hating because they push again, sorry to say this, Donkey, they push the American culture war onto other brands, and they have to understand the rest of the world is not like that. It's not a culture. Over here, we've been doing this kind of thing since I was a child, and I was fucking born in 1979. All right. And all the years that I remember, we've always grown up with just whatever you see on the streets has been on TV. If a show's set up north, it's going to be a bit more white. If it's set up in London, it's going to be a bit more multicultural. It's just how it's always been. And every show should reflect that. Like if Doctor Who, a lot of the time it lands in London, you're not going to go into an office in London and just find all white people there. Not even in the banks. Are you just going to find all white people in there? And it needs to reflect that. And audiences need to understand you can't just have like your strong white male lead and all this kind of stupid shit and all that. Like, just watch it for what it is. I'm not a Doctor Who fan. I genuinely enjoyed this. You know what I mean? And I don't like a lot of shit on TV. Like, I can't stand Star Wars, so I can't go back to it anymore, because as long as you got idiot executive producers on it, I can't fall in love with it, because it's just not a good product. And you see the reviews and you're like, yeah, they're still doing the same thing. So this one, I came into it. I left when Russell T Davies left. I came in as a Russell T Davies fan, and I've genuinely enjoyed it. I just thought even the camp elements to it blew my nuts off. And we have to get back to that place where it's just genuine fans giving a genuine shit about things and not get the culture war stuff involved. Because like you say, you just end up with review bombing. Just like, oh, black guy, review bomb. It's just like, oh,
no, not just black guy, gay black guy.
Yeah, gay black guy. Yeah,
trans actress and a drag queen. Oh,
yeah. It's like, I hate all that.
They're talking about LGBT stuff. Click. They're talking about black people. Click. They talk about people being flaming. What's the word? There's a word for it. Flaming. You're massive racist. Click. It's like, dude, grow up. It's 2024.
It's why I don't look online anymore. If I watch things and I enjoy it, and I say and I'll tweet, or I'll go on Blue Sky more than tweet now, and I'll say I enjoyed that, and it gets loads of likes. And the thing is that fans nowadays, it's spoiled little cunts. So they are. They're spoiled. It's like, oh, we can do exactly what I wanted. Grow up. It's a thing. It's a program. Go outside. There's a world out there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and a lot of the times you end up loving things where you don't get what you want. You got a show that goes completely opposite direction, like Game of Thrones. Oh, love this character. Good, they're dead. I'm like, that is great. Listen, there's a reason why Greek theater has been around for 3,000 years, okay? Yes. Because it is always the element, I don't give a fuck if this is your hero, they're gonna die. I don't care if you like this person, they're gonna die. It is a format that dates back to the beginning of Greek civilization, since the Mycenaean period, and it's something that works to this day. And Disney is the antithesis of that, and that's why they're a cultural cancer that's creating this toxic environment as well, because it's just like, stop making everything so lovey-dovey and bad writing. And
they will not last forever. They will not last forever. There will be a backlash. I saw an article today on the head of the CEO of OpenAI said, "Oh, we're a lot of creative jobs should never have existed, and it will filter out all bad art." So basically, she's saying, kids, don't pick up that crayon and express yourself. Yeah. Don't crochet. Do this, and it's bollocks. These people have no soul, have no artistic temperament. They just want money.
The problem is art is run by accountants, and it should never be run by accountants. It's run by hedge fund managers and capitalists, and that's not art. That is the antithesis of art. Okay, culture is just as relevant to the functioning of society as anything else. And if you commodify it and kill it like Hollywood is, you just end up, or you know, for example, I know a bit of a tangent here, but I don't give a shit because it needs to be said. When the councils are selling off all your land and your bars and your clubs and all this are owned by private landowners, and the rates are too high and people can't afford to keep this place open, the music scene is dying here. It's dead here in London. It's dying all over the country because people can't afford to keep these places open and all of that, because you commodified everything. And there's no room for art and culture. And these goddamn accountants are just like, yeah, well, we don't care. AI is going to solve that problem for us because we get to make money and we don't have to pay people. So it's win-win for us. And it's just like, okay. But then you end up with a mindless drone of, well, that's what they want anyway. But that's a tangent for another day. But this is what's happening. And it's really, really frustrating. And I've said it for the last decade that you're attacking writers, and that's the biggest mistake you'll make, because 10 years later, this is where we are now, where we've created this cultural cancer where everything is judged on external things rather than the art itself. And that art itself is also being just bludgeoned to death by these soulless executive producers who have no artistic merit. They're not artists. You look at artists like Kevin Feige, who was in the industry, who knows the industry, and you look what he created with Marvel up until a certain point, and you've got gold. But then when you have like some other people, like your John Peters, who bought Superman and Batman back in the 90s, didn't really give a shit about them. He just wanted to make toys. And it's where you end up with Batman and Robin. So anyway, I could ream on about this for ages, but anyone else have any other thoughts on this, what we just talked about?
Well, I mean, I'm usually against character death just because I'm interested in stories we can tell about a certain character. But I am with you that there should be tragedy somewhere. It doesn't have to be the character dying, but maybe something happened to him, like maybe they're disabled, or like that something happens in their family, and just something that changes that character's perception of the world. Because that's usually what turns a great hero to a great villain, is something that changes their perspective of the world. However, like, I do agree with you. I mean, like, AI writing has been a blight on modern, like, last 2-3 years, a blight on modern writing. Just like, it comes up with this blavic nonsense of what it thinks things should be. I mean, I don't have proof of this, but I'm going to predict that Star Wars Acolyte was written by an AI system of some kind, because no way anybody came up with that shit.
Well, no, well, that's why they're striked. But I guarantee you, the writers of that show used AI to help write their script, and they're not telling anyone.
Yeah,
like that's this is the other element to it. There'll be elements of people that will be using AI on the side while fighting against it to kind of help them create their thing, to kind of then, you know, keep their job and all this kind of shit. Simon,
as a teacher, I can tell you that when somebody uses AI for a paragraph, you can tell. You do not need an AI detector you can just tell straight off because there is no voice. It's like you get to know students' voices and you can hear the voice in your head, and it has a flow through. But then,
guys?
Alexia's off.
All right, see Alexia.
But then you get a paragraph that is by AI, and it's word salad, and there's no depth whatsoever, and it sticks out like a sore thumb. And they keep saying AI is going to do this, it's going to do that, it's going to do the other. They said this about VHS. They said this about the Spectrum. They said this about bloody Amstrad. It's bollocks. It can't even count the number of fingers on a hand. It is shit. And the sooner that we get over this obsession with the AI, the better, because they're trying to push it and they're trying to push it. And the more, I'm like a stubborn mule, the more somebody tries to push something really hard, the more I'm going to say no. What's wrong with it? Because if it's really that good, you don't need to push it. Everyone will.
But the problem is you're pushing it. You're not pushing it to better society. You're pushing it for profit.
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
It's all about
product. It's a crap product. And one of the biggest things that has sold AI is bloody Terminator.
Yeah.
It's a Terminator film, because that is where the majority of us have first heard about AI all those years ago. And it's not that good. We're not wearing full suits. We don't have flying cars. The Elon Musk Cybertruck looks like a bloody skip. It's just spend the money where it needs to be, like fucking hospitals. It's just...
Yeah.
Simon, stop making so much sense.
Yeah, stop it, Simon. What do you mean? Illogical.
In regards to this, I think the House of Mouse kept their hands as far away from it as they can, because this there was Americanisms a little bit, but it wasn't as bad as, let's say, something like Star Wars Acolyte, as I brought up before, where you can see their fingerprints all over it. Here, you can tell that Robert RTD was all over this. That Russell was all over this. Like, his tropes and what he likes to do. Like, in no way would an American company go, let's have a gay kiss in this. No way American company would have, let's have a campy British song from the 1990s in this. And that's the thing. Is that,
I mean, that was 100% Russell T. Davis. For sure.
Prints all over it.
The final episode was very, very studio. It was a studio. It did have a studio feel to it. The kind of everything needs to be resolved. And it was really just frustrating. But
I'd love to see I've been thinking all the way through this series. I'd love to take a peek at the contract. I bet it's that big. It's like RTD saying, my control, Disney, I'll give you that. My control. And quite right, because he gets Doctor Who fundamentally. He's the man is brilliant. But there's going to be some sort of leeway. There's going to be some sort of dovetail where they meet. And I think this series on the whole has been kind of a settling down period. Doctor Who's always done this in the new era. You look at Sylvester McCoy's first era, season 24, it was camp and everything, and it was a bit all over the place. By season 26, it was absolutely phenomenal. It was like Dark Doctor, full-on horror. It was going places, and then they pulled the plug. And because that was mainly down to Andrew Cartmel, who was basically the showrunner by that point, and the guy is a genius, really nice guy as well. But it's like this. Luckily, this does have a lot of RTD all over it, but you can also see the Disney influence. So
for sure. So cool. All right, then. If anyone doesn't have anything else to say, we can sign off on here. It's been a lovely discussion, Doctor Who, politics, and all, and it all melts into one. So that being said, I want to thank everyone that joined us in the comment section. Sorry we didn't even give you guys as much attention, but it was a meaty discussion. Overall, good outing for the first kind of return of RTD. Let's hope it takes a darker tone. And on that, I want to thank my panel. And see you around for more Doctor Who stuff. That falls on you guys. whatever you guys want to do Doctor Who wise, just let me know, and I could run things from behind the scenes. It's no problem. And on that, arrivederci.